If you first learned French in a classroom setting like high school or college, you might have noticed something unusual. Spoken French doesn't always sound the way it should based on what you learned about written French. That's because spoken French follows a set of different rules that makes it almost a different language from written French. One of these unwritten rules is that we almost never use nous in spoken French. I will explain this in today's lesson and tell you what to use instead. Traditionally in French, where we want to refer to ourselves as a group, we use the pronoun nous as we in English. For instance, nous allons au cinéma. We are going to the cinema. Nous allons au cinéma. Okay, that's good. This is what you will find in textbooks, in older movies, and in formal speeches.
Nous sommes ici, mes chers amis.
However, when you step in a cafe in Paris or listen to a modern movie, you will hear something a bit different. Instead of nous, you're more likely to hear the word on.
Voilà, on est là.
It's a subject pronoun and it's only a nasal vowel. You should feel it here when you say it. On. Repeat after me. On. Good. So instead of saying nous allons au cinéma, we would say on va au cinéma. Repeat after me. On va au cinéma. On va au cinéma. Good. Don't worry about the conjugation, I will explain it later. You will also find the conjugation in the blog post for today's lesson as well as a full written transcript of this video. As always, it is completely free, you just have to click on the link below the video in the description. But now, let me be super clear. Using on is not slang, it's not youth French, it's normal everyday spoken French. And it's not even incorrect either, it's just the way that French has evolved. On feels more natural, it makes for shorter sentences, and it fits much better in everyday spoken French, which is fast. Think of it as saying y'all instead of you all in English.
On fait quoi maintenant?
In casual everyday spoken French, on is now the default, and nous sounds way too formal. However, in more formal settings and in written books, nous still holds its ground. And that's because, as I often tell you, reading French and speaking French follow their own separate sets of rules. And now let's get into the details of using on. You probably already know about the conjugation of on. As a reminder, let's quickly cover the basics. Nous uses the first person plural conjugation ending in, remember, on, O-N-S. Like, nous apprenons le français, we are learning French. Nous apprenons le français, you can see O-N-S at the end of the verb apprendre. On uses the third person singular conjugation, like il and elle. For instance, on apprend le français, we're learning French, same translation. On apprend le français. The conjugation for on is less regular, but it is shorter. Let's see some examples. Nous aimons cette chanson, we like this song. Nous aimons cette chanson. On aime cette chanson, we like this song as well. On aime cette chanson. You see, it is the same conjugation as elle aime cette chanson, she likes this song, or il aime cette chanson, he likes this song. If you're an advanced learner, here is something fun for you. Nous sommes prêtes à partir is we are ready to leave. Here, prête is in the feminine plural. Nous sommes prêtes à partir, we're talking about a group of women. In the singular, with il or elle, it would be il est prêt à partir, he's ready to leave, or elle est prête à partir, she's ready to leave. So how would you say that with on? Think about it. Did you guess? It is on est prête à partir. We are ready to leave. On est prête à partir. Even though the verb is in the third person singular like il or elle, the adjective still stays in the plural. This is a bit strange grammatically, but it's why it is mostly used in everyday spoken French. If you're not an advanced learner though, just don't worry about this. Just remember that spoken French has its own rules. And actually, on is not just a simple replacement for nous, it has other uses as well. On was created as an indefinite subject for when you don't really know who is the subject. Even in written or formal French, it's like people in general, or someone, or you in general, or a vague they. As in, en Espagne, on se couche tard. In Spain, people go to sleep late. En Espagne, on se couche tard. Or, quand on n'a que l'amour, when you only have love. Quand on n'a que l'amour.
Quand on n'a que l'amour pour parler au canon.
And on is also very useful for the passive voice. For example, for a passive sentence such as my car was stolen, you could say ma voiture a été volée. My car was stolen. That's a very direct translation. Or you could use on and say on a volé ma voiture. Someone stole my car has been stolen. On a volé ma voiture. It gives the exact same information. And here, on does not mean nous. If you're interested in the other uses of on, you will find way more examples in the blog post for today's lesson. Check it out. Finally, a much more fun way to use on is as a suggestion. It's a very easy way to suggest, let's do something. What do you think? For example, on va au cinéma? Shall we go to the cinema? Or let's go to the movies. Are you okay with that? On va au cinéma? Or on s'appelle? Let's have a call sometimes, okay? On s'appelle? Now, let me back up a bit. Yes, French people almost never use nous as a subject like the English we. We use on instead, that's what I've been telling you, but we still use nous as an object like the English us. So for the pronoun we use on, and for the pronoun us, we use nous. For instance, c'est nous, on est arrivé. It's us, we are here now. C'est nous, on est arrivé. Or, ils nous ont invités à dîner. They invited us for dinner. Ils nous ont invités à dîner. We also use nous after prepositions such as c'est pour nous, it's for us. C'est pour nous. Or bienvenue chez nous, welcome to our home. Bienvenue chez nous, welcome to our home. More confusingly, you'll also hear informal French such as nous on est prêt. We are ready. Nous on est prêt. Here it is a repetition of the subject and a very, very common way to stress the subject. It's saying implicitly that we are ready while you are not or while they're not. We are ready. It's like moi, je sais. I know. Moi, je sais. While others would not know. Or toi, tu n'as pas de problème. You don't have problems, but I do maybe. Toi, tu n'as pas de problème. So repeat after me. Nous, on est là. Nous, on est là. Because it's French, there is one more subtlety about on that I will discuss in the blog post for today's lesson. It's about the difference between on nous a vu, someone saw us, and on s'est vu, we saw each other. Yes, that's tricky, it's French. But for now, let's jump into some practice exercises together. Today we've seen that written or formal French on one hand and everyday spoken French on the other hand don't follow the same rules. For example, to translate oui in French, we would say nous in written or formal French and on in everyday spoken French. So now let's put this to the test together. Grab a pen and paper, or just repeat after me and practice verbally so that you can improve your pronunciation as well. Here is a sentence in formal French. Nous sommes au restaurant. We are at the restaurant. Nous sommes au restaurant. How would you say this in everyday spoken French? Yes, it is. On est au restaurant. We are at the restaurant. Repeat after me. On est au restaurant. You can do la liaison, not do la liaison. This one is optional. On est au restaurant or on est au restaurant. Both work. The verb here is être, to be, and as you can see, it is conjugated at the third person of singular because we have a on. On est au restaurant. Good. Here is a sentence in everyday French. On chante ensemble. We're singing together. On chante ensemble. How would you make this sentence sound more formal? You can either write it or you can think about it in your head. What do you think? Yes, it is nous chantons ensemble. Nous chantons ensemble. With nous, you simply add ons as the ending of the verb chanter, and that works. Nous chantons ensemble, or nous chantons ensemble, again, a liaison that is optional. Now, here is a sentence in English. We love Paris. How would you translate it in everyday spoken French and in written or formal French? Here the verb to use is aimer for to love. Aimer. What do you think? Yes, it is nous aimons Paris in formal French with nous. Nous aimons Paris. And on aime Paris in everyday spoken French. On aime Paris. Nous aimons Paris and on aime Paris. Good. Now let's mix things up. Fill in the three blanks with on or nous. Prenons le train ce matin. We're taking the train this morning. Va à la plage demain. Shall we go to the beach tomorrow? But in everyday French. Ils ont donné un cadeau. They gave us a present in everyday spoken French. Do you know what fits? Yes, it is. Nous prenons le train ce matin. Prenons ends with on, so it comes with nous. Nous prenons le train ce matin. On va à la plage demain. On va à la plage demain. Here, va is the verb aller, to go in the third person of the singular. So it's a common way to make a suggestion in French because you can see the question mark at the end. On va à la plage demain. And ils nous ont donné un cadeau. They gave us a present. Where nous is not the subject pronoun, so we still use this form in everyday spoken French. And finally, one last exercise for you. Using the vocabulary that you know or learned from this lesson, create your own sentences in spoken French using on. This is your chance to be creative and apply everything that you've learned today. Go to the blog post and write down these answers. I want to read you. Or you can keep learning about modern everyday French with me with the lesson on why you should not say mon ami in French. Click on your screen right here to keep learning with your next lesson. À tout de suite, I will see you in the next video.